Most brokers in North Carolina think they understand the rules about getting paid, but unfortunately, this is where a lot of mistakes tend to happen, and these mistakes can lead to disciplinary action. Hi, I'm Kelly Allen, owner and education director of Cumbie & Troll School of Real Estate, and today we're going to walk through why broker compensation is getting so much attention this year. The 2025-2026 update course has a section devoted to broker compensation. And why it matters is because it's so easy to slip, mess up, and face disciplinary action. One thing to remember right out of the gate is that all written agency agreements must outline broker compensation. And we have to explain to our buyers and our sellers that broker compensation is always negotiable. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to agree to what your client desires, but it is a topic that's open for conversation, shall we say. If you've been in business as long as I have, and I obtained my real estate license way back in 2002, then you remember the good old days when you could be paid directly at the closing. Oh, it was so fabulous. All you had to do was send in a document to the closing attorney, and the closing attorney would split the commission check, part going to your company, your brokerage, and part going directly to you or perhaps the corporation that you prefer to be paid through. So much fun. I remember those days fondly. I would go to the closing, pick up that check, go directly to the bank, and then go where? Shoe shopping. You know I was going shoe shopping, y'all. Okay, well, something happened. We had a few bad apples. We sure did. And apparently they got, whoever these bad apples were, I don't know, but apparently they got a little snippy, a little nasty with the closing attorneys, a little demanding, slightly entitled sounding perhaps, and the closing attorneys were like, listen, we don't need to take this level of disrespect, thank you anyway. And so the rules changed, saying now that brokers have to be paid through their brokers in charge. For a minute, it was just provisional brokers. Provisional brokers have always had to be paid through the broker in charge. But now, thanks to those few bad apples, everybody, all brokers have to be paid through their broker in charge. If you are a sole proprietor, of course, you could be paid directly because how else would you do it? But if you are affiliated with a brokerage and you have a broker in charge, that broker in charge needs to sign your check. The hot topic related to broker compensation this particular year involves something new or newfangled, shall we say. Now, I've been teaching many of the update courses for the 2025-2026 licensing year, and so far, none of my participants, none of my brokers in CE have experience with third-party showing companies, but apparently this has been causing a few headaches. So let's break it down. First of all, it's not uncommon to have somebody in your office show property on your behalf, perhaps as a favor. So this is different than a third-party showing company. But let's start with an easier topic and just talk about someone who's showing property on your behalf. Maybe you're in a pickle and you need someone to go open a door for you. Or maybe you're going on vacation and you would like one of your coworkers to, quote unquote, babysit your business for you while you're out of town. You might think, hey, I'm just going to pay this person directly. I'm going to pay them $25 to open the door, or I'm going to pay them $500 to watch my business for 5 days or some such thing. You might be tempted just to write them a check or pay them cash. Who knows? Technically, doing that is a prohibited act in terms of license law and commission rules. All money, all payments are supposed to first go to your brokerage, and then the money is supposed to be issued via your broker in charge. Do I think this rule is being broken every day, all day long? I kind of do. So spread the word. that all money, even little tiny amounts, technically are supposed to go through the brokerage and then get paid out via the broker in charge. Okay, so let's circle back to these third-party showing assistants. Y'all, I had never heard of this. I did not know this was going on, but it is interesting. So apparently there is a new business model where if you're really busy, you can call up a third-party showing company. Think of it as like Uber for real estate. And you just call them on up and you say, hey, third-party showing company, I need you to send a broker out to 123 Main Street and 3 other homes and let a buyer view these properties. Well, how is this third-party showing company, this broker who's going to physically go open the doors, how are they going to get paid? Now, it might seem logical that you're the one who's hiring them, that you would write the check or you would make the payment. Guess what? Not so fast. Not so fast. That would be what? Watch this. That would be incorrect. The proper way to go about paying a third-party showing company is to make the payment to their brokerage, and it better be a brokerage. It better be a brokerage. Can't just be any old company. And they better have a firm license. If they're doing anything involving brokerage, if they're doing any sorts of LL Beaning, they better have a firm license, which means they better have a qualifying broker. They better have a broker in charge. That's another topic. Anywho, if you're going to hire this third-party showing company, you're supposed to make the payment to their brokerage, and then that broker in charge will pay the actual person who has gone to open these doors on your behalf to show buyers. Keep it in mind, you want to stay compliant. You want to stay within the rules. You don't want to face disciplinary action with the real estate commission. While we're on the topic of money, let's talk about bonuses or incentives that might be offered right now via maybe builders or other companies or even a seller, possibly. How are bonuses supposed to be handled? Well, here's the deal. Bonuses are supposed to be disclosed to your client. You're supposed to get permission from your client to receive a bonus. Isn't that something? You're supposed to seek permission from your client to receive a bonus. You are to disclose this potential bonus in a timely manner. What does that mean? In a manner that allows for enough time for the buyer or the seller to make a prudent decision. Now from there, so you could disclose orally what this potential bonus might look like. Then you are to reduce this information about a bonus, reduce it to writing prior to your client making or accepting an offer. One of the big reasons why this rule exists about disclosing potential bonuses really took off during and after the Great Recession of 2008. Back in those days, y'all, you could practically not give a home away. After the Great Recession, there were so many regulations on banking. It was so difficult to get a home loan. On top of that, the economy was not doing well and it was hard for people to qualify for loans. So it was really challenging for sellers to sell their properties. So oftentimes they would offer these bonuses to selling agents. Selling agents, remember, are those who work with or for a buyer in some capacity. So they were offering, and they weren't little bonuses, apparently. They were like tens of thousands of dollars, maybe a car, maybe a 2 weeks at the beach or some such thing. They were lovely, lovely incentives that sellers were offering. Well, do you think back then when this first started happening, do you think back then that buyer's agents were disclosing this to their clients, their buyer clients, that they could possibly receive some giant, lovely bonus? No, they weren't disclosing it. Everybody was broke in that time frame. People needed that money. They were not disclosing it. Well, someone found out about it, and what did they do? A client found out about it, and what did they do?
That was easy.
They pressed the easy button and filed a complaint with the real estate commission The Real Estate Commission got enough of these complaints and investigated enough of these undisclosed bonuses that they made up a rule that said, hey, agents, you must disclose the potential for a bonus in a timely manner to your client, and then certainly reduce that information to writing prior to your client making or accepting an offer. So that's the history behind why this rule came to be. It's worth noting that according to North Carolina Commission rules and license law, that compensation, broker compensation, must be outlined in a written agency agreement. Having your compensation outlined very clearly, expressly in a written agency agreement provides you a certain level of protection, because that means if it's part of the contract, it's enforceable in a court of law. If it's not in writing, it's not enforceable and you may not get paid. Additionally, compensation is always negotiable between the agent, the broker, and the client. If you are going to show your buyer a property that is up for sale by owner, it's time to take a pause and make sure that you're following proper protocol that protects you, the for sale by owner, and your buyer client. Well, what do you mean by that, Kel? Well, first of all, when you go to visit a for sale by owner, you want to preview that home first. Make sure that you're going over the WWREAD, the Working with Real Estate Agents disclosure, and checking the box that says that you are solely representing the buyer, and get that done. Make sure the for sale by owner understands that situation. Then you want to clearly have a conversation about compensation. Hey, for sale by owner, are you agreeing to pay my compensation that my brokerage is expecting to receive? If the answer is yes, don't stop there. Make sure you get that in writing. Use some sort of a protection agreement. If you are a North Carolina realtor, you will have access to a pre-printed fill-in-the-blank form that you can use. Otherwise, you may have an attorney draft a protection agreement on your behalf. This protects your buyer client, because otherwise, if the for sale by owner says they're not going to pay you, then the buyer may be on the hook for that compensation, depending on what your buyer agency agreement states. Additionally, if you are working on the good faith of a for sale by owner, they've said to you verbally that they're willing to pay your brokerage fee, your broker fee, and you feel good about that, you might come to find out later that they conveniently forgot and now they don't want to pay you. Maybe that happened to me. Very, very stressful. Don't let that happen to you. Make sure that your compensation agreements are express, that they're in writing. While the issues of broker compensation are not necessarily complicated, they are specific and precise. So be sure that you are up to date and you're staying compliant with North Carolina license law and commission rules regarding this topic. The brokers who stay out of trouble are those who communicate clearly with transparency every time. If you want to stay sharp on topics like this and others, come join us for our next continuing education general update course, or the broker in charge update course. We've got you covered and look forward to seeing you in class.